Once, back in ancient times, Venus, the greatest performer of all time, was selling out in all the arenas of all the land. Venus's talent for music and her immense beauty enchanted all of Athens, and she was adored by all. When the great king of Athens heard of this incredible performer, he immediately invited her to perform at his palace. Venus accepted the invitation of the great king and was escorted to the palace. Fans lined the street as she marched up to its golden gates. When she walked inside, riches from the farthest lands covered the walls. The windows were bordered by the finest gold, and diamonds were embedded in the ground. Venus smirked, realizing that the great king was very wealthy. She plotted that she could get some of the wealth for herself. When the time came to perform for the king was in awe of Venus's beauty. He instantly fell in love, not only with her music, but her looks as well. Her voice was so enchanting that the king told her, "Why, Venus, you are the most beautiful and talented singer that I have ever seen. I implore you, please perform for me again tomorrow." The king's servants came and showed Venus the exit of the palace for her to leave after her performance. She found the most delicate sweets on a marble table. Unable to resist any temptation, Venus checked the surroundings for any servants that may have still been watching her. As she saw nobody was there, Venus snuck a few sweets into her hand and ate them. They were the most delicious things that she had ever tasted. She grabbed a few more, stuffed them into her dress, and sprinted out of the kitchen back to where she lived. Amazed by Venus's concert, his love for her grew, and he begged her to return the next day for another concert. Venus realized that the great king had not mentioned anything about the sweets that she stole from the kitchen. When she had finished performing for the king, she sneaked into the kitchen once again and stole more sweets, this time stealing more than she had the day before. She continued to do this for many days, stealing the sweets of the king without him realizing it due to his blind love. Nobody noticed she was a criminal except for Nemesis, the goddess of retributive justice. She observed up in the sky as Venus continued to steal the sweets from the king. A gust of wind from her awoke the king's servant in his sleep, saying, "These king's sweets are going missing. Check the kitchen tomorrow and alert the king of what you find." The cold wind left the servant, and he awoke to find the kitchen half empty of all the sweets that he prepared. "Master, master," the servant cried, "your sweets are gone. Someone must have come and stolen your favorite sweets." The king was in disbelief and stormed into the kitchen. To his surprise, the kitchen, like the servant had said, was missing his favorite sweets. "We must find who did this horrible deed," exclaimed the king. "Investigate everyone in Athens this instant. The criminal will surely be punished." Nemesis smiled slyly in the sky, hoping that Venus would get what she deserved. The following day, when Venus arrived to perform, she was inspected by the servant. "Did you steal the king's sweets?" the servant asked. The king pushed the servant to the floor. The great king, still entranced by Venus's beauty, was unwilling to believe that the beautiful girl he obsessed over would do such a thing. "Venus would never do such a thing," the king scolded the servant. "She is too beautiful and innocent to commit such a tragic crime." Venus batted her eyelashes and looked up innocently. "No, I would never do that. That was so bad of someone to do. But it definitely was not me." Venus's gorgeous eyes hypnotized the great king, and he confirmed that Venus was not the stealer of the sweets. Again, Venus performed for the great king and grabbed more sweets for herself, unable to confront her temptation. Nemesis, still up in the sky, was greatly angered by this. Venus had clearly been the person responsible, but according to the king, she was the only person in Athens without blame for the crime. Nemesis decided that she had to take matters into her own hands. She came down into the kitchen and inserted flies in all of the sweets. When Venus came to eat one of the sweets the next day, she squealed with disgust. "Ew!" she exclaimed. "What is this? This is the most disgusting thing I had ever tasted." Nemesis appeared by the kitchen entrance and said, "You have been caught, Venus. You refused to be honest and deceived the king with your innocent looks, only to steal even more. For this, you deserve to be punished." Lights flashed all over the kitchen, and vines seeped up from the ground, crawling all over Venus's legs. Stop, get away from me," she screamed, and tried to run away. The vines dragged her to the ground, and she was unable to move. Her once gorgeous face turned green, and her mouth extended with pointy teeth. A carnivorous plant took the place of where Venus once stood. And this is how the Venus flytrap came to be. They eat flies for their entire lives, as Venus was punished for eating the great king's sweets. Their scary, dangerous appearance warns those near them what they are getting into, not being able to deceive and look innocent through their looks. Just because something looks innocent and beautiful, it does not mean that it truly is.